Welcome to the Giving Voice to Depression podcast, produced in partnership with Mental Health America of Wisconsin. We are your co-hosts, Bridget
and Terry. Each week, through intimate, candid conversations with guests, we explore different perspectives on and experiences of depression. We keep it real because the illness is real. We keep it hopeful because there truly is hope in spite of what depression tells you.
We are not experts or therapists. We're sisters and best friends who live with depression and have interviewed hundreds of others who do as well. By sharing stories of lived experiences, we expose depression for the lying bully it is. Hi, Terry.
Hello, Bridget. So you have undoubtedly heard the saying, desperate times call for desperate measures. Well, a global pandemic with life-altering restrictions on our movements certainly qualifies.
Yes, it does. And we've called this episode COVID Cohabitating. We could have called it Two People with Depression Who Only Met Twice Moved In Together for Their Mental Health During the Pandemic. But that seemed a bit long. Our guest today is Glenn. He lives in Illinois, and back in March, when he learned his governor was going to institute the stay-at-home order, he knew right away that was going to be a problem for him. His solution was not only unconventional, but fascinating. To use his words, it's a social experiment of our times. Here is Glenn giving his voice to depression.
Having previously experienced episodes of depression, I knew sitting alone in my house for an indeterminate amount of time was not the best option for me. And staying with family was probably even a worse option for me for a variety of reasons, mostly because they're my family. And so I was looking for an alternative, a healthy alternative.
Willing to be specific about what you were afraid of being at home with your thoughts?
Oh, idle hands, too much free time, negative self-talk, just the black cloud that comes, and without any variety, stays. So, and I'm a social person. I'm a extrovert. So it's tough when there's no one to interact with.
And then in the strange times call for creative measures category, a unique opportunity to interact presented itself to Glenn.
A woman that I had been corresponding with and had seen a couple times had a place in a free state at that time. She used this phrase that I still don't understand, but she's way more intelligent than I am. We'll be alone together. And she made the suggestion that I come and hang out with her for the duration. And I thought it's just nutty enough that would work.
Glenn said she had also been wondering if it was smart or safe to be alone during a pandemic.
I had not even thought about it, even conceptually, because it's way out there, right? Hey, I've met you twice. Can I come live with you during a pandemic? It'll be fun. And yet, when it was presented to me, it made absolute sense. It was like, damn, wish I would have thought of that. I thought it was brilliant.
Brilliant in theory. But Glenn says to make it work in practice required a lot of upfront planning.
I operate best with, guardrails. So wanted to get that defined as to what it was and what it wasn't. And so she had suggested that there be a written document along the lines of a roommate agreement, and was generous enough to allow me to write the first draft.
So how many drafts were there?
Just one. Maybe 5.
So
1 good one, 4 revisions.
the revisions addressed a wide range of short-term considerations. When they started, the shelter in place was supposed to be for 14 days.
So the first clarification thing was on the financial aspect of it. There was not going to be some kind of rental agreement, which I think was wise, and you don't want to just cross that roommate-landlord thing. And then behavioral stuff. What's your day look like? Well, this is my day, and I do this kind of work, and sometimes her work requires noise consideration, and sometimes mine does too because I'm on the phone. So there's that type of negotiation that went on.
Why did you take it seriously? Or how did you...
Legitimately? What, you seriously want to know?
I do, of course.
Because I needed it. My other options were bad.
So you took what I'll call the roommate agreement seriously and presented, said it was a long first draft, to increase the odds that it would happen and be successful.
Part of it was that. A big part of that was that. The other part of it was, oh, hold my beer, watch this. Right? Because it's kind of an outrageous offer. You know, from where I'm sitting, it's like, hey, we had a lovely cup of coffee and a chat and spent a nice afternoon together. Why don't you come live with me during a pandemic?
So it sounded odd even to you?
No, it didn't sound odd because, as I stated previously, it was brilliant. And I really just wanted it to work. Because if it were a business deal, it was a good offer. It was like, oh, I can do this. Here's what I bring to the table. Here's what she brings to the table. It was like, oh, that solves 2 problems, hers and mine, if it's not a horrible mistake, right? So how do you make sure it's not a horrible mistake? And then you go back to the communication aspect of it, and given time and the ability to write my thoughts out, I can be really articulate. So I took my time, I wrote it out, got it all out, everything, even, sensitive topics of discussion.
Are you still doing it?
I am still doing it.
Okay, how many days in?
That's a great question. 20?
Have you ever lived with somebody for 20 days that you weren't in a...
Have I lived with an opposite sex in a 20-day scenario without a romantic relationship? No.
That's what I was trying to ask, but I didn't know how to ask it.
Oh, okay. Well, did I answer that?
So how does that work? Was that part of the agreement?
That is part of the agreement. The agreement is it's her place, and there's lines and boundaries that should not be crossed. So if she wants to initiate something, she's more than welcome to. I, however, will not.
Is that in writing?
That is in writing.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And I'm going to ask about bedrooms just because we're there. So
okay.
I'm going to go there.
Uh-huh. The operating agreement states she's on a different floor, and I will never go on that floor.
Is there a point in mentioning the fact that you're not talking about living in different wings of some mansion, or that you're not in the coach house of her?
No. I will call it is a modest house. On the first floor, it is impossible not to see the other person. During waking hours, it's an in-your-face situation.
Okay. So has it been what you had hoped for in terms of a softer way to handle this?
It's been...
I mean mental health-wise. Or has there been...
It's the best way.
Really? There's not so many stresses because
there's no stress.
Living with a near stranger in her house.
Even living with a near stranger in her house.
No kidding.
There's like zero. And I think it's because everything has been discussed up front. And she was very clear. I am not promising you a relationship. I'm not promising you anything. And I'm good with that. And that alleviates a lot of the BS. I described it as foxhole buddies. You look out for me, I'll look out for you as best we can within the defined parameters.
Is the understanding that if one of you gets sick, the other will care for that person?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And part of it is also, since you don't know who she is, she's had mental health issues in the past as well. So there's a commonality there where we both have dealt with depression. So we know what that's like. And so I think each of us are a little more finely tuned to checking.
Checking in on each other regularly on both their physical and mental health status.
Okay.
So is this a good idea? Is this just one of those things that happens to be working for you? Or do you think there's some merit to the idea in general?
Right now you have this extraordinary set of circumstances. And to me, it's just fascinating. For me, what I value in this whole thing is I have a trusted resource. I mean, it's going to sound overly dramatic, but I'm just going to say it. This person has agreed to look out for me if I get sick. That's a pretty big deal. And I've agreed to watch out for them if they get sick. That's a pretty big deal. So it's not something that was entered into lightly or foolishly or naively.
Other elements that factor into Glenn's foxhole buddy arrangement working include shared values and good senses of humor.
We're decent, civil human beings who happen to be incredibly good looking, articulate, intelligent, witty. Oh my God. And it's fun. It's fun.
I tried so hard to be quiet over here.
It's fun.
I can't imagine
There's a lot
people using that word.
Fun.
Nobody is using the word fun to describe what is going on right now.
They might not be using the word fun, but they should try to have some. What's that saying? When you're going through hell, keep going.
I would like to ask just one question, if you can briefly address why she's not being interviewed.
Oh. The reason she's not being interviewed is she's a celebrity, and you would recognize her voice.
A movie star?
Well, I'm not going to give any hints.
Would we all recognize her on a magazine cover if we saw her?
In certain regions of the country, yes.
Are you not going to give me a real reason why she doesn't want to talk?
It's very difficult for her to talk about this because of what she does for a living.
Oh, you're serious?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were kidding.
No.
Oh, I totally thought you were kidding. I'm sorry.
No. Too many people would know it's her. And then, because what she does professionally, they would all think maybe something's not quite right. Because who invites somebody to live with them after they've met them twice?
So is the bottom line, if you're going to do something what word should I use?
Unconventional.
Unconventional. If someone's going to do something this unconventional, and hopefully we will not have a pandemic again to test this, but is the advice choose someone you don't know very well so there's so much to learn and you won't get bored? Or is it choose somebody nice? Or is it trust yourself? Is it trust the other person?
I would say the key, if you're going to pick,
right,
the two key things that I would put at the top of the list, and everything else can be negotiated. One is an agreement in writing that both parties agree to. Because without boundaries and without proper setting of expectations, you're going to have problems. And I mean detail. And the other thing is, pick somebody you can have a conversation with and resolve conflicts with in a measured, productive way.
Probably good criteria for choosing any partner, certainly a pandemic partner. And for Glenn, the whole thing seems to be working.
I think at the end of the day, the challenges I face, minimal challenges I face in this situation, way less than challenges I would face spending 20 days alone. People would be worried. I would be worried.
Wow, it's such a brave and cutting-edge solution.
It is interesting. I actually read an article in Marie Claire about another couple, same thing, 2 dates, and they moved in together. And I've heard of other people here. So it's, I think a lot of people realize they're not good at being alone, or they're not good at being alone and ill. So I don't know. It was just fascinating to me. I was really grateful to be able to delve into that story.
Well, we have a little follow-up, and this is after 5 weeks of Glenn and his foxhole buddy living together. And they declared the social experiment a tremendous success, and they closed down the camp. Since the shelter-in-place end date kept moving and might move again, they decided to choose one themselves. And ending it while it was still going very well seemed like a smart move. I did talk to his pandemic partner, and she has the same word that Glenn did, fascinating, to describe the experience. Adding, she has no doubt that being together and laughing every night had tremendous value, both socially and from a mental health perspective.
Very interesting. These are strange times, and that is a strange solution. But it worked for them, and I think that's lovely.
Very brave and very trusting. And it does make me think, I don't know about you, but I never even did that with my husband. I love the idea of having a contract.
Oh, right. And
Yeah.
Yes. And what is it? A conflict resolution sort of expectation. And yeah, it is an interesting thing. So anyway, we got to take care of ourselves in whatever way works for us that is healthy and, obviously good for other people too. So that's sort of the challenge, right? You can think outside the box, you can be non-traditional, but get through this in a way that, isn't damaging to yourself.
Right. That's honoring all that's coming up or not coming up, just honoring what is.
Honoring what is. Indeed. Thank you, Glenn, and his foxhole buddy.
All right. Be well.
Bye, Bridge. You too.
We truly hope that our podcast brings a little more understanding, helps you better articulate your experience of depression, or better understand how to support someone else's.
We invite you to join us for daily posts on the Giving Voice to Depression Facebook page and on Twitter and Instagram at Voice Depression. It is a comfort to be among fellow travelers on depression's dark road.
And remember, if you're struggling, speak up. If someone else is, listen up.